Another way you find out about who we are is to see that we give away the entire cash collection, the non-pledged funds, on the first Sunday of each month. And I want to welcome forward Ashley Lynn from Promise House to talk to us about this organization that is connected to the Ellises and some members of our church. And we want you, if you're writing a check, to write it to First Unitarian and put Promise in the memo line. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me here this afternoon. I thought the best way to share with you about who Promise House is to share with you some stories related to children that are receiving our services. We serve a wide variety of children, 0 to 24 years of age. The first person I'd like to tell you about is a young man who was raised in a home of faith, and every evening they did a prayer circle. And as a lot of adolescents begin to question their involvement in a particular organized faith, he did too. And on that particular night, he decided he would not participate in the prayer circle with his family. He stayed in his room throughout the entire prayer circle and thought, I'm just going to get ready for bed. And so he took off his clothes and just sat in his bed thinking, wow, did it. After the prayer circle, his father came into his room and dragged him out of his room into the den, and he pulled out a belt and began to beat him. He hit him in his face and on his legs and on his back and on his arm and continued. He was livid. The young man didn't know what was to come next. There in his boxers and socks, he decided to run. He took out onto the street on the coldest day of the year and thought, I can never go back. I don't know what to do. So he found an abandoned car, and there he stayed for the night, and he found some newspaper and covered his body. As the sun arose, he woke up to the next morning and thought, well, I don't have any clothes. I guess I'll continue on. I can't go home. So he went on to a railroad track, and there he encountered another person who gave him some clothing and comforted him and said, there are options for you. This is not the end of the road. You have potential. It's going to be okay. And these are the kids that Promise House serves. Another individual, a group of sisters that had come to stay at our emergency shelter. And they explained to me that the three of them lived together, and they shared a room with their older sister who was not with them that day. They continued to share what had occurred in their home. And they began to tell me that their older sister had become very, very ill. And they told their mom, she's really sick, she needs some help. And mom didn't do anything. They cared for the sister. They brought her food and water, and the sister became sicker and sicker, and she wouldn't get out of bed, and soon she wasn't responding or talking. Again, they said, Mom, she's really sick. She did nothing. One morning they arose to find that she had passed. They told their mom and nothing. What did they do? They went to school and they told the first person. Someone now had to know what was happening in their house. And of course, CPS intervened, and Child Protective Services looked for a kinship placement, a relative, a friend, someone close to the family where they could go. But there was no one that stepped forward and said, we're ready to care for these girls. So they came to Promise House. And at Promise House, these young people receive counseling, emergency shelter, long-term residential care, and we do what we can to help put the pieces of their lives together again. I hope that by sharing with you these stories, you're able to see how our calling fits with your calling today. I appreciate you inviting me out this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you.